So most stomas are not perfectly round. The ones on these mannequins look really nice and round. Most people's are not. And you would assess it like this one here. That's not perfectly round. This one's mostly round. That one's pretty much round. When we do the measuring, you see how this sticks out? That's probably, I'm gonna guess, 1.5 inches, maybe more. If we go back to the other picture, this young man's, his sticks out quite a bit. This one's very flat. That's not good. This is about average. So what happens after surgery is they want it to be sticking out, and it's gonna be big. And then over about 6 weeks' time, it shrinks in size and it shrinks down. This one probably wasn't big enough at surgery, and it shrank down to the level of the patient's skin. And that's harder to keep the skin from excoriating as you're taking care of it over time. So it's better for it to end up about like the ones on these mannequins, but in order for that to happen, it has to start probably at least double that size, big, round, and tall. So when the enterostomal therapist came to help me the very first time, the day after surgery, she looked at my stoma and she says, "Oh, that is a beautiful stoma." I said, "Oh, I've never had anybody say anything like that to me before." But she said, I said, "Why do you say that?" And she explained what I just explained to you, that it gets smaller and it goes down. So it stuck up quite a bit, but that was good because it ended up looking about like that. So you're assessing while you're cleansing. What if this is not pink? And usually they're not quite as red as these, a little less red, maybe pink would be the best description. But what if it's not pink? What if it's gray? What does that mean?
There's not blood flow.
There's not blood flow. Decreased perfusion. Is that okay? No, it's not okay. So a surgeon would need to be notified at that point. Now, in order to really see it well, can you see it through the pouch? No. Can you see it through stool if there's stool on there? No, you cannot. So you have to clean it off in order to get a good picture of the color. The initial pouches that they use after surgery are clear for that very reason, so that you can see the stoma for the first couple of days to make sure everything's good. So then you would do the measuring. The purpose of the measuring is to get the right size, because next what I'm going to do is take my wafer, because that's way bigger than that opening, isn't it? I have to cut this down to the right size. So I put this on my wafer, either side. Most of the wafers, I think that you guys have out there, have size markings on them. Turn it over on the back. Does it have size inches and stuff? You can take them out of the package. No? Okay. The ones I had concentric circles that would say 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch, 1.5 inches, that kind of stuff. And so, but what I would usually do is make a circle with my pen on there, and I would use my scissors and cut it down. Now my stoma was oval, it wasn't perfectly round, so I couldn't use the concentric circle thing. So I'd always cut it smaller than what I needed it to be, and then I'd trim down the edge to make it oval. Does that make sense? It's hard to describe, because we don't have an oval one here. And for the one that we showed on the picture before, you would also have to get that, if there's any funny little grooves or bumps in there, you have to work through that with your scissors, because where it needs to be is right up next to the edge of the stoma without touching it, as close as you can. You want as much of the skin covered as possible. But if this hard plastic thing, feel that. If that butts up against this soft stoma, it could irritate it. And a couple times I didn't get it small enough. And I could feel it when I was moving, pushing against that stoma and irritating it. So it's a bit of an art to get that down to the right size. But this is hard, you can feel how hard that is.
Mrs. Rose, you were talking about you could feel it irritating, so did the stoma, because it's from the inside, does that have nerve endings for pain?
It doesn't really have pain endings, it's more pressure. It's more pressure endings. That's a good question. I could feel inside the opening when stool was coming out. Pressure. I could feel when there was a big fart, because that's the only way to do it, is through that opening. So it kind of tickled, that kind of tickled. But when there was stool coming out, I had a sensation down there, but it wasn't pain ever.
Was it similar to what you'd feel coming out the rectum, that pressure of it opening up to let the stool out?
Yep, exactly.
So did you control it, or it just
No
happened?
control, no control. So except for when I took a shower, I wore the pouch all the time. Now, a lot of patients who have it long term, the average person usually has 1 or 2 stools a day. The average person usually knows what time of day that's going to be. So if you knew that you were a morning kind of a person, you could put your pouch on in the morning, and then at lunchtime, take the whole bag off and empty it and get rid of it, and you could just put a 4x4 over there for the rest of the day. It's just mucous membrane, so it doesn't need to be sealed or anything like that. So a lot of people can do that after a while. An ileostomy, you can never do that. You would always have to have something over it. So after I measured and cut this wafer, then, let me back up just a minute to the ring. So I'd take this ring, and they were all the same size, and I would kind of stretch it and make it pliable a little bit, and put it around here, around the stoma. And then I would take my wafer and put it on top of the ring, so that then my wafer would be right on top of this stoma. The last thing that I did is to attach the bag.
Back up right there. You were saying put the ring down, and then you said to put the wafer down. And you said your wafer was right on top of the stoma.
Oh, around the stoma. Thank
So
you.
it'll be on top of the ring.
It's on. So if I don't have any ring, if I put the ring down first and I cut this
Are you saying the
down.
ring is like the skin protectant?
Yeah. Well, no, it's not. It's more of this.
Okay.
We don't have any scissors.
It's
Do you have
softer.
scissors? Johnny on the spot? Perfect.
They do.